How you doing, people? Today I want to talk about if Chappel Roan hates her fans, and does she, along with any celebrity, any person of any type of fame, owe their fans all of their time?
I don't care that it's normal. I don't care that this crazy type of behavior comes along with the job, the career field I've chosen. Would you go up to a random lady and say, "Can I get a photo with you?" And she's like, "No, what the fuck?" And then you get mad at this random lady? This is a lady you don't know. And she doesn't know you at all. I'm a random bitch. You're a random bitch. Just think about that for a second, okay? I'm allowed to say no to creepy behavior, okay?
Those are two TikToks that Chappel Roan posted last week that have garnered a lot of attention. They seem to be, from what I've seen anyway, more supportive than the other, being screw them, fame's not for you, she's being ungrateful, stuff like that. The first thing I want to talk about is the analogy in this first video sucks. It's a horrible analogy because Chappel Roan, or Kaylee is her real name. Chappel Roan is a stage name. Kaylee is no longer a, quote, random bitch. Because to answer your question, of course not. I would never go up to a random lady. I think it would be fair to say most people would not go up to a random person on the street and ask for a picture and ask for a hug, do some light stalking of where they and maybe their family resides. Of course not. But you, or somebody that maybe I admire their artwork or the whatever they've put out in the world, they've created something that I like and I see them in the wild, maybe I would. Maybe I would go ask them for a picture, because that kind of makes sense in some way. I'm not saying harassment makes sense, but in some way that makes sense. You, like everybody's born a random bitch, okay? But you are no longer a random bitch, because to most people, to some people, to most people, to a lot of people, you are not a random person. You're Chappel fucking Roan. Now, I think the analogy sucks, but I think the sentiment behind it is fair and reasonable. Don't just come up to people and invade their space when I'm just out enjoying my day, or I'm with my friends, or I'm with my family, or I'm at a dinner or whatever. I think the emotion behind it was clearly one of frustration. And to backtrack, I would actually never go up to somebody in public that I admired to ask for a photo or anything like that. I've only waited around one time for a band post show, so in a much more of a reasonable place to do it. Queens of Stone Age played here in where I live in April, and it was the 6th time I've seen them. And I was seeing on the Queens of Stone Age subreddit that for most of these shows, if they were coming out to talk to people, and I was like, that'd be pretty sick. And so I thought, screw it, we're at this show, why not? They've been doing it, so why not? I'm not gonna. There's a really good chance that they're actually gonna come out. I didn't need them to sign anything. I didn't even really need a photo. I just kind of was looking for fist bumps, and hopefully that was it. We waited for a long time where I was like, maybe it's not. This isn't worth it. And most of the band came. Josh Homme didn't come out, and Troy didn't come over, but the rest of the band did. I got some fist bumps. But then I was standing there with my buddy and my girlfriend, and there's people around yelling, Josh, come do a sign. John, come over here, come do a sign. Looking for them to sign stuff. And I thought, dude, I just wanted a fist bump. Maybe a photo if it made sense, but I was going to be happy with just a what's up, great show. And I felt really dirty, being in a group of people that were just looking for stuff from them. And also, I think I was happy at the end of the day that Josh didn't come out. Also, I think that he was drinking a lot that night and on that tour. And I wonder, like, man, maybe like the mystique would have been broken. Maybe you would have been an asshole. And that word mystique, that's what was so cool about like music and rock and roll when, pre-internet, was that it was like you were supposed to kind of have a mystique about you, about your band. And it's really hard to obtain that now because you're supposed to build this lore that your fan base or a fan base can latch onto and belong to. Obviously Taylor Swift is an extreme version of that, but it's at all levels. There's, for anybody that's an actual like listener of the show or whatever, or is in the Southern Ontario rock scene, or even in Europe, know about the New Rock Mafia. Cleopatra, Zig Mentality, Ready the Prince started this thing, this sort of collective that grew into this underground movement, and that's the closest thing that I've ever been involved in. And I wasn't even deep in it, but I was in it. I'm friends with those bands, and it was a cool thing to be a part of, and it feels like you're part of a community, and it's a cool thing to do, and it helps those bands a lot, and it helped bands like mine that were just on the edges of that, on the periphery of that. It helped us get a little bit of notoriety, and just by association, so it makes sense why you build these lores and why you build these movements behind your music, because in the age of the internet, that's how you connect people, is you make them feel a part of something. And I think, I'm not the biggest Chappell Roan fan, meaning I think that record is actually really incredible. But I'm not like in it, you know what I mean? And it seems that that's how she sort of tried to set up her career, that there's Chappell Roan and then there's Kaylee, and she wants to be able to separate those two things. And I think that that's an admirable thing to do, and I think that that's perfectly fine to do. Now it's finding the balance and finding that shutoff point between you and your fans, because kayfabe is dead. And kayfabe, for those of you that don't know, is a pro wrestling term. And before it was common knowledge that pro wrestling was fake or scripted, I should say. If you saw like Hulk Hogan out in the wild, he had to be Hulk Hogan. He couldn't be hanging out, with a heel. Heels and baby faces, good guys and bad guys, could not travel with each other back in the day. They could not be seen out together. And I think that pro wrestling is an apt comparison in this case, because pro wrestlers still sit in this odd space where people only know them for the character that they portray. When wrestlers do media, they do them with their wrestler name, with their stage name for the most part. And a lot of times they'll do them in character. Tom Cruise doesn't do interviews as Maverick, so there's an even weirder parasocial bond that wrestling fans have with wrestlers. And I think that that's a solid comparison here when, Kaylee goes, well, no, Chappell Roan is the one that you love. That's the person that you love. You don't love me. I think people have a hard time separating those two things, because it makes sense that, Jennifer Aniston is not Rachel Green. That makes sense. But when you go like, no, but I don't want the notoriety. That's why I created this character, and like this is how I'm comfortable being on stage, is when I'm Chappell Roan. Like I'm not comfortable being in the limelight. So the sentiment here is that Chappell Roan wants the fans to separate the two and stop coming up to her, asking for photos in inappropriate places, right? This isn't like at the show, don't talk to me, at the venue, don't talk to me, at, when I'm out doing like press, don't talk to me. It's like when I'm out getting a bagel, this isn't crazy. And, I think that like some people want the fame. Some people don't really care the means of which to get to fame. They just want to get there. And some people, maybe for lack of a better word, like accidentally become famous. I mean, Chappell Roan was signed and then dropped and then signed again, and then put out this album, and it still was like a sleeper hit. It still took time. It wasn't an immediate success. And it was through touring and, festivals that this thing has taken off this summer. And I think that there's this odd thing, especially in pop music right now, that like people get like incredibly attached to a thing and put people on this huge pedestal. And I don't think that, pop star fame was maybe what Chappel Roan was striving for. I think that it just has happened over this summer. And I obviously don't know her. I can certainly understand the feeling of like, can I just have a sec, when you're just all of a sudden famous? Some people say maybe fame isn't for her. And yeah, maybe it's not. And it's not for everybody. That kind of attention isn't for everybody. But it doesn't really have any effect of what she does. Well, maybe she can't handle being famous, right? But she can handle writing great music. She can handle putting together great records. Those two things can be separated. Those things can be mutually exclusive. There's way more musicians making incredible music that will never be recognized for it than there ever was people making great music that are recognized for it. I think it has got out of hand, and I think something like concert etiquette is something I would love to talk about, maybe in the future. I think that like sitting outside of a concert venue and scream crying is not normal behavior, but it also has been happening since the Beatles. It's people are just so jazzed. It's mania. The Beatles had to stop playing because their popularity and the mania at which their presence created superseded the technology available to them at the time. Like finding out somebody's hotel room that they're staying in, or when their flight lands, like those are not normal behaviors to be partaking in. There's so many examples of this. I can keep going back to pro wrestling, but there's lots of examples, or there's countless examples there. Here's a podcast clip from a wrestler, Sasha Banks, talking about fans, a very similar thing.
What, you want me to talk about how much I hate being bothered at the airport or hotels? To me, I have such a big, and I grew up a wrestling fan, so I knew that I wanted to meet all my favorite wrestlers, but always in the back of my head, I never thought in my life to be like, hey, they're gonna fly in. Maybe I should wait at the airport for 12 hours at a gate. Hey, they don't want any sleep. Let me go find their airport or their hotel that they're staying at and let me bother them. Like, to me, that's stalking. I don't tweet out what hotel I'm at. I don't tweet out what airline I'm flying out. I do tweet you what arena I will be performing at.
Right.
So I do expect fans at the arena, and I'm so happy to sign at the arena. That's fine, because I'm telling you where I'm going to be at. If I see you in public, that's fine. But when I'm at an airport at 4 a.m. and I see somebody with a carry-on, and then they open it with 100 items of everyone, and they're bothering everybody to get an autograph, and then I see it on eBay, that's not okay to me. Right. If we have an autograph signing, if we're at an arena, I'm so excited to see you guys. I'm excited to see you right now.
Right. Right. There's a huge difference.
But 4 a.m, I'm not too happy.
And I think actually this is a great poll because it's very similar to what people are saying. She says, I'm excited to see you at the venue. This was a live podcast taping. It's like, I'm excited to see the fans here because this is the appropriate place to see them. When you're at the airport for the sole purpose of trying to get a picture with me or trying to get me to sign something at 4 a.m, like, no, I'm not happy to see you. I think most people can understand that. That's insane behavior. Those are crazy people. One of the saddest examples I've seen of this is Rhea Ripley in an airport asking if she can go now. She looks up in that video and she goes like, wow, you guys keep multiplying. Yeah. It's heartbreaking, and not all of these people are fans. Some of these guys are autograph bandits. They're just looking for an autograph so they can sell it. Mark Hoppus expertly took care of one. We played on the show a couple weeks ago.
I was in the concert, please.
Mark. Name 3 songs of a Cheshire Cat.
No, I was in the concert.
M&M's.
Name 3. Can you name 3 songs of a Cheshire Cat? Cheshire Cat. The album Cheshire Cat. There you go.
Beautiful. Like the first time that Name 3 songs has ever been appropriately used, I think. Josh Homme has had it out with a guy before. This was, I think, about a decade ago. And the context that isn't included in this clip is that Josh was there taking photos and signing shit. And he had got word that like some of these guys were like autograph bandits and they were selling stuff. And so Josh said like, I'm not signing anything else. Like I'm not trying to get, I don't want to see it on eBay. And the guy that he's yelling at in this video coming up makes some comment like, you have no idea how much money we've already made off you tonight. And then this is the aftermath of that.
What the do you do? Do you come to me? Really? Yeah, well, can you come teach my house for free? Absolutely. Go, let's get started. Let's go right now, you loser. You're full of dude. Yeah, you are. You're a entitled, spoiled mother. Oh, I don't like what you're right. I don't like what you said. Yeah, but you won't sign autographs for them? No. I've signed tons of autographs in my life. I've taken pictures. That's fine. That's cool. Is that okay with you? What else do you need?
And then finally, the nicest guys in rock. I love this video so much. Dave Grohl has set boundaries.
From Detroit, Dave. Please. One thing.
I'm going to say it one more time.
I know, but one thing.
I'm going to say it one more time.
May I have your selfie?
I stopped signing shit unless it's for charity. Okay?
Can we donate something? Can we donate? You said that in New York and then signed in DC the next day.
That's it.
Can you write my name on it, please?
You can write my son's name on it.
Here's the other thing. See you.
Come on, Dave, please. You can personalize it to Geo.
And something else that I think gets lost is that people aren't always on, and even in this case where I think it's a very intentional thing that when Kaylee is Chappell, she's on. And when she's Kaylee, she's not. Her hometown and my hometown, I believe she's from a place called Willard, Missouri. I'm from a small town on Georgian Bay. We have similar populations, small populations. And I live in a bigger city now, and sometimes that is overstimulating. I spent the first 18 years of my life in a small town. And, I grew up being able to get out of the house and you wouldn't see a soul. You could go on walks, for kilometers, for miles, and you wouldn't see anybody. You could go into town, into a public park, and nobody would be there. I can't do that now. You walk outside, guaranteed you're going to see people. Guaranteed there's people out also living their lives. So to go from that to superstardom, even if a piece of you did want it, like you're writing music and you hope that thousands of people, that millions of people are going to hear this, but it can still be overwhelming. And the problem in life is that there's always going to be assholes. You will always have people that will be like, I totally hear the rules. I totally see your boundaries. Obviously not for me, right? So can Chappel Roan solve stan culture? I mean, no. I think that it's on, society as a whole to stop putting people on such high pedestals, stop digging so deep into these artists' personal lives. Enjoy the things that they share, enjoy what they create, but don't expect too much outside of that. And I also wanted to say too, like, for Chappel Roan herself, this is all relatively new to you as far as I've seen. Obviously, I'm not a fucking superstar. Whether you wanted the superstardom or not, at this point in time, you have it. And putting up the boundaries are important, and I hope that people respect those boundaries. But you are no longer, quote, some random bitch. People are going to recognize you. People might say, what's up, and ask for a photo. And that is something that should be expected. That is something that comes with fame. But you don't have to like it. And people should respect those boundaries. And of course you can say no. And if somebody thinks that you're an asshole for that, that's on them. Just be respectful. Because yes, at the end of the day, whether that person is famous or not, whether that person has created something that you love or not, they are still just a person with human anxieties and human personal space issues and just, the human desire to just be like left alone for a second. A few years ago, I was at a cottage with my family on Lake Huron, and my brother and I took some kayaks out. And that day was a little wavy, not the best day to be kayaking, and we are not expert kayakers, not experienced kayakers. it's starting to get worse, and we're like, we should probably start heading back. And we're heading back, and the waves are crashing, and it's filling this kayak with water, and it's starting to sink. And I'm like, oh, this sucks. And we're relatively close to shore. And again, not an experienced kayaker, but I would say I'm a pretty experienced swimmer. I'm a pretty good swimmer. And so I bailed out of the kayak, and I started swimming this kayak to shore. And we get it to shore. We get it like up on some rocks. We're a little bit away from the cottage, but we get it up on some rocks. And I'm just trying to get out of the water. And I'm getting on top of these rocks, and I'm slipping. And the waves are crashing. I'm slipping. I'm banging my knees. And I'm trying to get up, and the waves crash me back down. And I keep raking my toes on the rocks. And I get knocked down one more time. I bash my knee on this rock. And I just look down, and I scream, "Can I have a fucking second?" And that, I believe, is a good analogy for what Chappell Roan is experiencing. Shiny side out.